But if your offering is solid, you have a good value for the user, then absolutely, I think, if and other founders are listening, the App Store optimizations, so ASO and
Yeah.
SEO are
Yeah.
amazing investments that you should do right off the bat.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to your bi-monthly dose of salty knowledge. As some of you may know out there, I have a soft spot for certain industries. We, the cool recruiters, like to focus on industries that, for lack of a better word, they use tech to make a world a better place. And green technology is definitely one of these industries. So today I have the utmost pleasure of having with me Olivier Oli Proulx, who's a co-founder and CTO of ChargeHub. And ChargeHub is a Montreal success story, whose platform is essentially, the way I put it, is like a super powered network of charging stations. But obviously Olivier will flesh this description out a little bit. But I think it gives a good idea of what it is. And so quick words about Olivier. He studied. He's a fellow engineer. Little be known, I was an engineer also at some point, but he graduated from McGill University. I'm more of a polytechnique kind of guy myself, but both are excellent school. But you did spend most of your time like building electric snowmobile prototypes, which I find very interesting. It was you were foreshadowing basically where you were headed, and you also you teach karate. You were bartending, and then you moved to Austin for 4 years. And Austin is not known as the capital of electric vehicles. I think it's more like pickup trucks and gas guzzling monster trucks and whatnot. And so when you came back, you proceeded to do a master's degree and founded a family and founded a company. You founded ChargeHub, where you're co-founder. And now you're CTO of this company, which you brought from like 1 to 25 and more people in a few years. And I'm very, very interested to know about that. I know that you guys have over 1 million users as of today, and you're an entrepreneur true and true. You've been through the up and downs that entails. So I'll leave the floor to you, because I'd like to know. One thing I ask every guest is a cabin fact, right? Cabin gossip fact. So it's something that is very, very little known about you. Something very few people know.
Well, thanks for the intro, Marty. Really happy to be here. A cabin fact. I think I'm really into coffee, so I'm really into coffee. We actually had this on our website at some point, that I was into coffee, and then we removed it. But I roast my own coffee at home. So
you do? Okay.
Yeah. So I buy green beans, and then I roast them in my oven, and
nice.
It smells amazing, and
it must.
It tastes really good too. So it's simpler than people think, actually. But yeah.
Do you go for a darker roast or a lighter roast?
I like a lighter roast, actually. Yeah. Yes, I tend to do the lighter roast, actually. Yeah.
Me too, because I heard such a junkie, but I heard that the caffeine content is higher in the lighter roast. I read that somewhere. That you end up burning more caffeine if you do a darker roast or something.
Maybe, yeah. I know the taste for me. I find it tastes burnt a little bit, like when it's too dark. So yeah, I tend to do a lighter roast, or even if I buy beans, I'll buy the lighter roast for sure.
Gotcha. Awesome. So we're both fellow coffee drinkers then.
Yes.
and yeah, I described ChargeHub as a super powered platform for it's America wide, like Canada and the US. But I'd like you to give us like a more thorough description, flesh out that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ChargeHub's mission is to simplify electric vehicle charging, and we think that by doing that, we'll increase electric vehicle adoption. So that's kind of our big mission, is to increase electric vehicle adoption.
Okay.
And the ChargeHub app is there to help people find all the charging stations in North America. So we support, Canada, US, and Mexico, and you can find any charging station, whether it's a fast charger, a Tesla charger, or even just a hotel that's offering free charging. You can find it all on ChargeHub. And it's really a community app, so people can post comments and pictures to help other EV drivers. And the other thing it does is you could also pay for charging. So in the past, maybe before ChargeHub, what you had to do is basically sign up to one of the charging network's accounts, put money on that account, and then you could use those stations. But then if you were traveling somewhere else, like in the US, you had to do all that over again with a different network and put some funds on that account and all that. So now we're really simplifying that with a single account. So you just need one ChargeHub account and you can pay for 70% of the charging stations in North America.
Awesome.
So it's really the one app you need in your pocket. But recently, we extended that to other apps, actually. So we offer other businesses a roaming platform. So if, let's say, an OEM or someone that's making cars want access to a lot of networks, they could go through what's called our interoperability hub, and then they could get access to a number of charging operators. And for the charging operators, it's really nice because it offers them, one connection, one integration, and they can offer their charging systems to a lot of different users. So we just launched that a couple of years ago, and that's really growing rapidly. We're really solving a problem in the industry there too.
That's amazing, man, because it's not only one app to find them all, but it's also one app to pay for all of them.
Yep,
which
absolutely, yeah.
I understand was kind of a challenge to do, right? Because you I think 5 years ago you thought it was something that was nearly impossible, and yet you pulled it off. So tell me about what the challenges were to roll that out, and how you vanquished those challenges.
Yeah, so I think, we've been around for a long time. We started our company when, there's almost no electric cars on the road. And so, at first, when we started building ChargeHub and seeing all these networks appearing, we saw right away, like, okay, this fragmentation in the industry is really going to be a blocker for the industry to grow, because, it's fine when you're early adopter, you jump through hoops. You're okay with that. You'll use 3, 4, 5 apps, and you're okay with that. You're driving the first electric car in Canada. But, as we saw, anyone wanted to buy a car, they're not going to do that. They're going to be like, what? This is so confusing. I'm not buying it. I'm going back to gas, right? And so we started working with our partners and trying to, get them to enable that through ChargeHub. But at first it's really hard, right? Because they have their own business model. They're getting started in an industry that's new. They don't want to just give access to this third-party app. And so, by years and years of relationship building, basically, and saying, hey, listen, we're just here to help. We just want to enable the industry. We want to make it simpler. We don't want to take any business away from you. How can we enable this? And then at some point, it became almost natural that, hey, okay, we need this in the industry. We need someone to take care of this, because as the number of charging operators grow, it doesn't make sense anymore to have.
Yeah, right.
So,
gotcha.
So in a way, we were there at the right time, but it's also took years of relationship buildings with our partners to build that confidence, to build this together. And we did build this together with the partners,
Gotcha. So part of the challenge was, or the gist of it was, that they were seeing you as competition, and you as a threat. And the challenge was to change that mindset and to see you more as a partner.
Yep.
And
that's it could be a challenge in a in a network business where you're trying to grow a network of people or entities together to find win-wins, right? That's not just one person that's going to winner takes all. It's like, no, okay. So that was another challenge, to find a good business model that anyone or everyone can win with. So,
gotcha. And I got the same, although it's a different industry completely, but I have the same kind of, whenever I onboard a new client, if they have anyone from HR or talent acquisition, initially they will see me as competition, or they somewhat rightfully think that if I'm here, that's because they're not pulling their own weight, which is not necessarily true, especially with HR, who have many different plates to juggle, right? Mm-hmm. And so my challenge is always to say, hey guys, I'm not here to replace you. I'm here to actually work with you and ultimately make you look good, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And clients that I've worked for years, that's the kind of relationship that I've built with their talent acquisition. But it takes time, because initially you get that sort of like, what's this guy doing here? What do we have what are we hiring a pirate for? Anyways, I get that quite a bit. I have a confession to make. I'm still one of those gas guzzlers that I derided. Although I'm a very modest one. I own a Golf GTI. I've been a GTI kind of guy for a long time, over a decade at least. Like more like 2 decades. And I'm starting to think about making the jump, right? And part of the reason is that, well, I understand that this is the way of the future, and the other reason is that, man, I would love to get my hands on one of those. I don't know, you probably heard about them, the prototypes that character Elon Musk built for Tesla. He used a Lotus Elise, and he made it electric. He made 100 of them, or 200, I don't know. Leo DiCaprio owns one, and that car is mind-boggling, man, because the Lotus is under, it doesn't weigh a ton. It's less than a ton. It's about 700 something kilos. It's so light. Fiberglass body, no cup holders, to save on weights. And you put an electric motor in that must be like, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or something. It's incredibly crazy.
The torque is just insane. Like, if you floor it, it feels like a plane. Where, well, I didn't drive in that one, but in other cars, like a Tesla, like it feels like a plane's taking off, and it doesn't stop for a while. And it's another kind of ride for sure.
It must be, man. You own one, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I have a pretty old one. So we're actually on the market for a new one right now. We have a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf. I mean, it's amazing. It still runs great. But, as we have a family to do more adventures now, it can limit us sometimes. Like, I don't mind charging in public. I'll do big road trips. But, at some point, if you're going to drive for 4 or 5 hours and you have to stop every hour, it adds up. Yeah. But that's a 10-year-old car, So nowadays, like, it's a joke. They all have 400-kilometer range, and anyone who has one that's done a road trip, they're like, you have to stop at some point anyway. And there's more and more charging. If you go, I always tell people too, if you go on ChargeHub.com, you go on our map, there's charging everywhere. It's crazy. So, I think now we're on the market for a new one. Funny story, I think my neighbor was really all into Vokes, and he just got an ID4, and he loves it. So anyway, not the Lotus, not the same, but
no, there's something about the Lotus, man. I mean, it was it's built in the 90s. I think I'm a 90s guy, and there's something sexy about it. And even the name is sexy. The curves, everything. I mean, it's just they're so rare. You don't see that many of them anymore. They stopped production a while back, I think, and they're hard to find. One of the things that your platform does that I think is really interesting, and we discussed that prior, was when a charging station, say, is hard to reach, or it's hidden, or there's something wonky with it, there's a way for your users to share information, right? Yeah. It's also like crowdsourcing information, because kind of like what you have with Wise. I think Wise always, whatever the GPS, where you can call out where they are, like speed traps and cops and whatnot. But this one it has similar functionalities. I'd like you to touch into that a bit.
Yeah, so I think people, when it comes to charging stations, it's not like gas stations that are announced on the highway with this huge billboard and you see the price from far. There's also a lot of gas stations. So charging stations are, they're the size of a fridge for the bigger ones. So you could try to find a fridge in a parking lot, right? Like it's not always announced, and you know exactly where it is. So our app helps for that. So like the last mile directions, right? So you'll see that, okay, it's at this exact parking spot. And then seeing a picture of that is really helpful when you're planning a trip. Like, okay, I know the station's going to be here. And then, we have user comments, just like, on any social media platform, people adding comments or reviews is really helpful, because sometimes these things, the connector is going to be ripped off, or there's a flower truck that's delivering flowers that day, and he's parked in front of the charging stations. They're not accessible. We've seen that happen. So actually the funniest one is I've seen a comment, this is a long time ago, about a bee's nest. Like literally there's a bee's nest in the charging station. So someone said, hey, there's a bee's nest there. So that kind of helpful comment or user interaction is super helpful for our users. Yeah.
Awesome. And it helps to alleviate what is sometimes referred to as charging stress, or when you're going on a road trip, and you want to plan things somewhat a little or not at all, and you go hunting for charging station, and I understand that can be stressful for some people, right?
Yeah. That's it. Are they going to be able to find it? Is it going to be available? Are they going to be able to plug in, get enough power or energy to keep their trip going? So there's a lot of stress, and we try to help out with that. We're not there yet, but we're working on it.
Because I'm the kind of guy that with the gas vehicle, I'll be like, well, it indicates the tank is empty. It indicates I have exactly 0 kilometer range. But I still try to see how far I can push it. I'm like, I'm probably running out of fumes by now, but I don't know why I do this actually, but I ran out of gas like 3 times, man, in my life. Once with a date, that girl was laughing out, man. I was just. She took a picture of me walking by the highway with a gallon of
the jerry can.
Yeah. She was like, this guy is unbelievable, and I was dressed nice also, just. And another time,
it's pretty romantic. You said, "No, I just wanted to spend more time with you."
Exactly.
I didn't want to spend time getting gas.
That's a way to spin it. And another time was in the Adirondacks, where, man, in that part of the States, like the gas stations, they were closed. Like even if you could pay with your card, and it was maddening because you would insert your card, and then you could put like a few drops of gas, and it would say actually we're closed. Wow. And so I put like a few drips, and I kept driving and ran out, and I went to knock on a door, right? There was a hotel there, and this guy comes out, and he gave me because he kept gasoline for his lawnmower, and he gave me like a gallon, and he gained a lifetime customer because I go there often for hiking, and I always go to his hotel.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Name's Bill, and he always asks me, so you got enough gas to make it back to Montreal? Every time.
Every time, yeah.
Every time.
We get the question all the time, like, what happens when you run out of electricity, like of energy? And it's, it's the same thing as if you run out of gas. Like if your car stops, you'll have to go plug it in or get it towed. So,
but how long to charge it enough so you can get moving again?
Good question. So that'll really depend on the size of your battery. So like for my 10-year-old Leaf, on a fast charger, it'll take me maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get going for another 80 or 100 kilometers.
That's
but
good.
Nowadays, that's like pretty slow.
Really?
The newer cars, so like a Tesla can, get 400 kilometer range in 25 minutes, maybe something like that. I'd have to look up the exact spec there, but it's really fast. So it's maybe like 4 times as fast as my Leaf.
I mean, you just plug it in, go for a cup of coffee, bathroom break. Here you go. Yeah. It's the same as it's pretty much the same as with gas. You're never going to stop just for gas. You're going to go and get a cup of coffee. You're going to go and get
I mean, after you drive for 3 or 4 hours, you're going to stop for more than 5 minutes. Right?
Exactly.
For sure. So
awesome.
Awesome.
And you essentially you took charge of from like a 1 people outfit to 25 people, and you build the engineering team. And I'm very interested to know what, and you built a strong team too. So I'd like to know what were your strategies doing this. You know, what are the challenges that you encountered and how you overcame them? And finally, if you have any advice for any founder in the same situation, or co-founder, or what have you.
Oh man, yeah, it's like reflecting on the last 10 years. So we've been in business for 10 years. We weren't focusing on ChargeHub. I think that was the first challenge, was that we were consulting in the electric vehicle space, and we kind of, ChargeHub came from actually a project that the client kind of backed out. They wanted a database of all the stations in Canada, and then they kind of backed out, and we had already kind of built a prototype app, and we said, hey, let's keep going as a side project. It'll be nice for the EV drivers. So I think that was the first challenge, is as a side project that's not making any money, right? That you think has a future, but how do you dedicate resources to that are with a specific kind of goal? So we didn't take the VC approach that hey, we have this idea, raise a bunch of money and do it. It was a side project that we bootstrapped, that we kind of internally funded. So it's hard to build that, on the side. When we did decide, okay, no, this is our company now, we're going full in with ChargeHub with the business plan. Then it became more, okay, how do I build a team, right? I coded most of this, right, on the side, and now we have to build a team around it. So, that was kind of the first challenge too, is, okay, you have to build a multidisciplinary team. So you don't have the luxury, I think, if you raise a bunch of money, great, okay, so you can hire an iOS developer, an Android developer, a backend developer, a database engineer. You kind of hire one of each, but when you're bootstrapping, you have to find someone that could share hats. You don't have these really nicely, even today, we don't have perfectly defined roles at the company, right? You have people sharing hats, you're doing this and that. Okay, but at first it's hard to find those people, because as you recruit, right, it's oh, there's an iOS developer, so that was the first challenge. And I think getting people that could wear a couple of hats is really important. And also, I think I've heard you say this too, is hiring people that are really adaptable and leaders, because at first, I mean, there's so much to do as you're building up a product. You're building a product in an industry that's new with very little money. You need people that'll think outside the box and do a lot with that dollar or that hour that they have, right? And so that's a challenge. That's also, you need the special mentality there. And I think that's really quick, little challenges. No, I think there's so many that come up, but
what's interesting is that those challenges, finding people who are willing to wear many hats, the fact of being able to wear many hats, or to be adaptable and to resourceful, and to be able to jury rig something and make it work, are also perks of working for a startup, the right kind of candidate, right? And that I always tell my candidates that working for a startup is incredible as a platform to learn, right? Especially the more junior resources, because touching many things is a plus, because you'll discover that you have a knack for this or that. You'll build a strong foundation, like a 360 foundation of what it takes for a business to run, right? You're having silos means that you got to work in a silo, or in a vacuum. You don't know where your piece of code or whatever you're doing, where it's going to end up, what kind of impact it's going to end up. In a startup, you see it right away. Yeah. So there's a definite upside for the right kind of candidate. I get candidates asking me, should I consider working for a startup? I'm like, yeah, well, a couple of things that are there are ups and downs, obviously, but that's certainly a perk of it. And then I tell them also, make sure that you believe in the product, because you're going to be part of the success. So it's got to be something that speaks to you. Yeah. But that's yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
I think maybe like a couple of notes on that. I think there's two things that come to mind. One, you said like having an impact and touching many things. Um, I think it's still something to me that's really, really important. And as we grew the teams and defined roles a little bit more, and the team structure a little bit more, like what products teams work on, I think we work really hard, and we're not there yet, but we're working really hard so that people can own the full stack and touch the full stack from, design all the way to production and support. And that really empowers folks because, when you hear the problems that our support teams are getting directly, right? The developers get that directly and feed that back into the sprint and the product. Like they own that product. They own the full thing, right?
yeah.
If the development or the release pipeline fails, right? They go and fix it. Like the team owns it, they go and fix it. They need to own that whole flow of value. So I think that's something that we're still working on, but it's really empowering and really helps us keep delivering value to our clients really fast. I think that's one thing as we grow the team that's really important to me, and that's a work in progress. I think in the second thing you said about believing in the product. So while we're talking about like recruitment and all that, one of the perks that we have at ChargeHub is that we actually have an EV incentive. So we actually pay $400 per month if you drive an EV. Like we just add it to your paycheck, and that's nice. I think we have over 30% of our employees that take that use that incentive and that drive an EV, and not only me, but I think it's just so cool. They use the product. They're literally like a tester for our product. They find bugs. They'll test it and they live the lifestyle. So it's a little perk that we came up with a couple of years ago now, and it's been really cool to see at the company.
Yeah, it's a perk that makes a lot of sense, and it's I keep talking about perks that the usual perks that people think about, but sometimes it's worth thinking outside the box, so to speak. And okay, so there's the bean bag and the espresso machine and the gym membership, all right, but something specific to the industry that you're in. And yeah, you're right. It allows them to do testing and allows them to come up with ideas for new features.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of which, what are the next steps for ChargeHub? What's the next horizon? What's the next goal post?
That's a great question. So we have a whole team dedicated to improving our product. So we really listen to customer feedback and try to make the app easier to use and the quality to increase. If you start a charging session, it all works. So that's improving the product. On the coverage side, so we want to have 100% coverage in our app, right? So anywhere you go in North America, you'll be able to use ChargeHub or our partner's app to use the charging station. So that's an ongoing effort. And then the next big thing we're looking at right now is a new kind of technology that's coming out in the industry called plug and charge, where basically you just plug your car in. There's communication between the car and the vehicle, and then magically, it starts charging, and someone gets billed for it.
Okay.
And so that's something that we really want to be part of and help our partners, enable. It gets pretty complex on the technical side. There's a lot of security aspects. So we're getting involved with partners to enable that in the industry. So that's a big one coming next year that
nice.
I'm also personally involved with on the tech side. So
you still get your hands dirty or static in your hair or whatnot, right?
I try to, yeah. I mean, like it is hard as the company grows, as the team grows. But I think it's really important, and I also love it. So, but I try to stay on the technical side as much as I can. At this point, there's people that are way stronger than me that run things, but I try to stay in it as much as I can to be part of the fun.
Excellent, awesome, and we've been talking about engineering to a certain degree. I'd like to put my marketing hat on because there's, I tackle, tech engineering profiles, but also marketing and product as well. And I'm especially interested in the million users that you rounded up. How did you achieve that? Because that's
So
one part of the puzzle I never understood. There's this saying that you build it and they will come or whatever, like those overnights. It never happens like that.
no,
So
no.
how did you go about that?
So honestly, like we did not do much marketing. That a lot of our users find us from the app stores, I would say.
Oh no, yeah,
There's probably a bit
that's
of
good.
word of mouth now with
Yeah,
our brand and hey, oh, you got an EV, make sure you download ChargeHub.
yeah,
But really the app stores, they search EV charging and we come up and they try 3-4 apps and they say, okay, I like this one.
but that's how you did it. You
That's
were
how we did
properly
it.
indexed in the Apple Store, and your
Yep.
app is great. So
Yep.
that's how you
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah, we definitely want to keep them once they use us. Then okay, yeah, it is a great product and all that. We did a lot of SEO, so search engine optimization. Our
Yeah.
website. If you search for charging somewhere in North America, charging Cincinnati or whatever, likely we're in the top 3 that come up.
Okay.
So that's a really big effort that we've done years ago, and it's paying off. So that was a big one. But this year, starting like almost this month, we're ramping up marketing efforts in North America to really push our products forward. The market's changing now. There's a lot more EVs coming on board.
Yeah.
And we have a strong business model with the app now. When you have a free app, you're like, well, I'm not going to pay to market it. It's free. Like I'm not making any money. It's just there. But now we have a business model that makes sense to start. Okay, let's market it. We just launched a new B2B website. So for all our kind of business products called solutions.chargehub.com. Literally this week went live. So we're really excited about that. So yeah, we're really ramping up marketing
Nice.
efforts with our marketing team. Yeah.
Gotcha. But I mean, SEO is marketing. They're all valid strategies
Yep.
to drive. You need to drive traffic. You need to come up on top on the App Store, and then obviously you need to deliver the goods, right? The proof is in the pudding. If what
Yeah.
you're offering is doesn't hold up, then but you're not in
Then it's
that.
not worth it. But if your offering is solid, you have a good value for the user, then absolutely, I think, if and other founders are listening, the App Store optimizations, so ASO and
Yeah.
SEO are amazing investments that you should do right off the bat.
Now I'm going to put my devil's advocate hat because I like to do that. It's a very pirate thing to do, but
Yes.
here in Quebec we have hydroelectricity, so we have a way to produce electricity that's it's friendly to the environment, with some exceptions of barrages like floodings and stuff. I mean, it's not perfect, but it certainly is light years a difference or ahead of coal mining in the Appalachian, for example. And so owning an electric vehicle here in Quebec, I understand that your environmental footprint, say, is going to be much less than a gas vehicle. But if you talk about somewhere down in deep Tennessee where there are still coal mines running, and to produce that electricity, you need you're burning coal basically. Is your footprint going to be the same in a situation like that, or it's going to be smaller or bigger?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it comes up a lot, right? I think definitely if you compare, producing electricity with coal versus producing electricity with hydro, hydro is much better in terms of, if you say the carbon intensity. So for every, joule of electricity, there's a certain amount of carbon emitted. Then it's better hydro than coal.
Yeah.
I think the comparisons usually when it comes to like gas also has to take into account the production of the oil, right? So the production of the fuel somewhere, you have to extract it, you have to bring it somewhere else, refine it, then distribute it to the gas stations, and then you burn it, right?
Yeah.
So I think in all the models I've seen, I think MIT has like a really nice web tool where you could do all these comparisons based on data. And pretty much any comparison you do, the electric comes up on top, right? Even in the coal case.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
When you compared like well to wheel or
Yeah,
from
well
the
to wheel.
production.
All right,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
I'll put the link. I'll find the link to the MIT website, and I'll put it in the description for the
yeah.
podcast, because I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one thinking about that, and there's a way to get a grasp on that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
said,
yeah.
I mean, for hydro it's a no-brainer, but then if for coal it's a different beast.
That being said, I mean, yes, down the line, we will need to electrify a lot of, or not electrify, but like clean up the electricity production. And I think, EVs are one piece of the puzzle when it comes to global warming and reducing our environmental footprint. I'm really focused on that. I'm passionate about that, but it's one piece of the puzzle, right? There's a lot of other pieces that hopefully will come in place that I don't play in yet, but
Yeah, like when I was a kid, the big buzz was like, well, cars will be driven with hydrogen, right? So the only byproduct would be water, because you join hydrogen with oxygen, and you get water, but you release energy. And I was very excited. I was also 12 years old, but then I started thinking, okay, but how do you get the hydrogen to begin with? You need to separate it from its oxygen component, which takes a lot of energy, right?
Yep.
And so you need to consider the whole chain. And how do you get that freaking hydrogen? It's not freely available. You need
It's not
energy
just
to
there,
put it
right? In nature, where you just grab it. Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. I think we covered all of what I wanted to cover. I'd like to. Do you have any closing words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience out there? Anything you wanted to talk about that we skipped or whatever?
No, we went through some good stuff. I'd say, if you have any questions on, starting a company and building a team, feel free to reach out. I love, learning about other startups, and if you have some things you want to discuss, I'm happy to do so. Super happy to be here and talk with you, Marty.